Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit the playlist. In the playlist, I have provided almost all the topics in a very systematic order. This is quite convenient for the study. My dear friends, in the last class, we have been discussing about the basics of nutritional rickets in children. And we came to know that basically rickets is a disease of early infancy related to growth plate of the bone situated in the metaphysis. Now today we will have some detailed explanation of the same. If you look into the structure of the growth plate, as I told in the last class itself, this is the whole structure of the growth plate which is situated at metaphysis. And now suppose bones are basically divided into two types, and epiphysis, metaphysis, and as well as diaphysis, as shown in the figure. Diaphysis is the area that is both ends of the shaft, and epiphysis is nothing but upper end, an area where the epiphysis and this diaphysis joins together, so that is called as metaphysis, which also contains a growth plate or epiphyseal plate. It is also called as epiphyseal plate. Now very important is the metaphysis contains the growth plate. For us, as far as the explanation of nutritional ricket is concerned, it is the metaphysis or the growth plate which is the main focus. Now what is the structure of the growth plate? Okay, so as I told in this particular figure already, there are so many structures are there, so many layers are there. Now we need to understand this one by one for the clearance of the topic. The growth plate contains basically the 5 layers from the epiphysis towards the diaphysis. So we are now discussing from the epiphysis towards the diaphysis, or from the upper end to the lower end. That is from the upside to low side. The first layer is called as resting cartilage zone. The first layer is called as resting cartilage zone. If you look into the resting cartilage zone, the cells are very thin and they are not densely packed, and they contains chondroblast. See, if you look into this, the number 1 as shown in this figure. So this area where the cells are very thinly distributed, sparely distributed, and that area is called as resting cartilage zone, and they contain some of the chondroblast which later leads to the formation of the chondral plate and as well as the bone. Now next to that, another layer is called as proliferating cartilage zone. Now if you look into the second layer, that is the second one is proliferating cartilage zone. This proliferating cartilage zone, a lot of cartilaginous cells are there and they are densely packed and they are actively dividing. If you look into this, here the cells are very densely packed, proliferating cartilage zone, and they are actively dividing, and they are multiple in number, very large in number. The third layer which is present in the growth plate is hypertrophied cartilage bone. The same cells become hypertrophied. Now the cells which are present in the proliferating cartilage zone, when they come to the next layer, third layer, so they become hypertrophied, they become large in size, and this is the third layer, that is hypertrophied cartilage zone. Next comes the necrosis and mineralization zone. Now this layer is quite important for us, necrosis and mineralization zone. This is actually the layer where the rickets occur. Okay, so all the problems will start related to the rickets will start from this particular zone layer. So this is called necrosis and mineralization zone. Why the problem starts here? This is actually the layer where the rickets occur under the effect of the various hormones. Okay, the various hormones which comes over here is PTH, parathyroid hormone, and other growth factors. Upon the influence, based on the influence of these various hormones, there will be accumulation of the phosphorus in the cartilaginous cells. Now the cartilaginous cells which are present over here, basically all these are cartilaginous cells itself. Here they are thinly placed, here they are densely placed, and here they are hypertrophied. Now because of the effect of so many hormones and growth factors, there will be what you say accumulation of the phosphorus in the cartilaginous cells. Phosphorus will come and get accumulated in the cartilaginous cells. This leads to the necrosis and apoptosis of the cartilaginous cells. So what happens is when more and more phosphorus come over here and get accumulated here, these cells will undergo necrosis and also undergo apoptosis. Apoptosis means it is a cell death, programmed cell death. A programmed cell death. So the cells will undergo damage, itself will be damaged because phosphorus is coming and get accumulated, and as a result it undergo necrosis and also apoptosis. That means cell death will occur. Cartilaginous cell death will occur. So what happens next is when these cells die, then it is filled by the hydroxyl apatites. Okay, when this necrosis occur, the free area is there. This free area will be filled up by the hydroxyl apatite. That's why it is also called as mineralization zone. Okay, and so here what happens is, so phosphorus deficiency is one of the major cause which can trigger and most important cause of the rickets. Now suppose if this necrosis do not occur, that itself is one of the cause for the rickets. What I mean to say is, if these cells will going to die, then that will be filled by the phosphorus and some other minerals like calcium, etc., and then it leads to the formation of the ossification. But when this is not happening, that itself is one of the cause. Therefore, phosphorus deficiency is also basically a primary cause of rickets. Not only the calcium and vitamin D, phosphorus deficiency also. If there is no phosphorus, then this necrosis and will not take place. And if there is no necrosis, there is no deposition of the phosphorus and other calcium, etc. So that is a root cause for the rickets. So here this is the case. Now the last layer is called as ossified zone. Ossified zone. What do you mean by ossified zone? Where the dead cells are progressively replaced. In this zone, the dead cells are progressively replaced by the osteoblast, which are coming and depositing in the layer, and bone will grow and will form. And if there is a problem in this, it leads to the deformity of the bone. Now the last layer which is present over here is ossified zone. So this is area the mineralization taken place here already, and later onwards what happens is the dead cells are progressively replaced by the osteoblast, and which are coming and depositing in the layer, and then the bone will grow because osteoblast, so they will give the firmness, okay, bony nature, bony texture, because osteoblast is nothing but a bony cell. Okay, so if there is a problem in this, then it may lead to the deformity of the bone. Suppose if this is not happening, that area becomes very soft, it is not firm. So firm area, when undergo the movement, it is liable to bending, and because of which there is so many deformities. The bone will be soft. Instead of firm, it will be soft. So it is subject just like elasticity. Okay, so if you stretch it over and then just leave it, so when you do for multiple times, it will lose its elasticity and it attains a permanent deformed shape. Similarly here also the same thing will occur with the bone also. So this is the last layer what we are talking about. This is the layer where the mineralization takes place. Okay, calcium and phosphate come over here. So this is a deposition of the calcium and the phosphorus, and this will be followed by the next stage, that is the formation of the osteoblast, which build the bone. Osteoids leads to osteoblast. Osteoid is nothing but type 1 collagen fibers. Now these are the 5 important layers which are present in the growth plate. Okay, so formation of this growth plate in the proper way itself is the first step in the proper development of the bone. Okay, proper development or lengthening of the bone. So especially in the 4th layer, necrosis and mineralization zone, if there is some problem, if the phosphorus is not deposited, if the calcium is not deposited in time by replacing the other substances, cartilaginous cells, that itself is the cause. Now calcium and other things comes later, but first it comes phosphorus. Phosphorus should come and it should enter inside the cartilaginous cell. It should kill that cartilaginous cell, replace it. The cells will undergo the apoptosis and necrosis, and that area will be filled by the phosphorus, followed by the other minerals. So fourth layer is considered as one of the very, very important stage. Now talking about the physiology, in the bone what actually happens is osteoblast lay down the osteoid. Osteoclast will going to remodel the bone, mobilize the calcium into the blood. Osteoid mineralized by the calcium, for which the vitamin D is very important. The mineralization defects leads to accumulation of the osteoid in the bone tissue below the growth plate without mineralization, that is below the metaphysis. This leads to widening of the growth plate and responsible for all radiological changes. And this osteoid is not able to bear the weight as it is not very strong. So when weight is put on this start bending as it is very soft and there will be deformities. This is already what we have discussed. The last layer, there is the osteoblast layer or osteoid layer. So that is very important. Osteoblast and will going to remodel the bone. There are two things are there, osteoblast and osteoclast. Okay, osteoclast is the one which will going to remodel the bone. Osteoblast is one which build the bone. Okay, so that means it is remodeling. Some of the osteoids are removed and again remodeled. So they mobilize the calcium into the blood. So mineralization defects may be there, which leads to the deformed formation of the osteoid, and that leads to the problem. So this is how the growth plate is formed. Again, I will repeat the last two layers: necrosis and mineralization zone and ossified zone or osteoid zone. So this is very important. These things will come one by one, go on replacing, and this will step by step these things will going to happen. Okay, so these are the 5 important layers of the growth plate which we have to understand. The rest of the things we will going to see in the next class. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also please give a valuable